Okay, this is AA4 at the mic for Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta, the Medical Amateur Radio Council. Grand Rounds on the Internet, our weekly net since 1966, where we have interactive discussions on topics related to healthcare open to all individuals. We record many of these sessions, put them from Zoom and put them on YouTube videos so everyone in the public can participate or certainly benefit from the discussions that we have. And today we're going to be talking about Christmas music in healthcare environments, Christmas carols with medical lyrics, and this is the Healthcare Hams, Medical Amateur Radio Council celebration of Christmas time holidays and the expression through lyrics with health-related themes. And we've already had our first holiday session last week where we talked about holiday foods around the world. That is available on our YouTube channel. So if you would look for the Healthcare Hams YouTube channel, you'll find the holiday foods discussion that we had last week. In addition, we have many other recorded conversations about topics, and some of them more core to healthcare, to your health. So I encourage all amateurs that are monitoring and all individuals that are watching the videos on YouTube to use those to your benefit. And certainly, as we talked about last week, the holiday tables can look a lot different depending upon where you are from the world. And we talked about cuisine from the world. We talked about also different cultures and different religions and what a holiday table might look like, whether it be Christmas or Kwanzaa or Eid, any of the backgrounds that celebrate. And today, there's some scientific basis, of course, for why we have a Christmas tree and why we have carols. There was an article in the Clinical Psychology in Europe journal about this, and it was published and it's linked on the National Institute for Health website. You can just Google that. You can Google "Is Singing Under the Christmas Tree Psychologically Recommended?" A scientific evaluation. And quoting from the article, many European families built a Christmas tree in the living room. Although this room was kept clean and proper for other times of the year, and no dirt from the outside was allowed. They state that the surprising activity for inside decorations actually followed old Egyptian, Chinese, Jewish, and Northern tribal traditions to put some green into buildings during cold winter days. However, what was unique is that these trees seemed to trigger some urgent need to sing along, preferably together in families. And the article analyzes whether, from a psychological perspective, it can be recommended to follow this urgent need or whether we should give priority to stop this tradition. I don't know why you'd want to stop the tradition, but you have to read the entire article. It is available as a PDF. It's open source, so you're not going to be just getting an abstract. You can go through all the details. And I suggest that if you have an interest there, to Google that. I also have my notes here as a PDF, and I'll make those available. So even though our club calls Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta, if you're at QRZ and you want to get those notes, look for AA4FL, Alpha Alpha 4 Foxtrot Lima. And for either call sign, you should be able to email me, Jay, here for that link to that material, and I'll be more than happy to provide it. Thank you for everybody that's here today. We already have 20 check-ins. Do we have anybody else listening who'd like to check in?
Whiskey Bravo 9 is still down to top five. I'm going to for a little bit, Jay. I could talk about some music for you first, particularly, as well as the Christmas tree as a deacon over.
Oh, well, I'd love to hear that in a little bit here, particularly music. Or would you be talking about it all from a rock and roll perspective there? Go ahead.
No, more country music. I mean, that's primarily what I did then. I did classical stuff. Let's say, I'll be around 56 years professionally in the music business, officially with ASCSM, writing there as a chief and the Roman Catholic Church. So, but professionally, it'd be more country music related. Over.
Okay, well, thank you, Harry. Let me let Chip talk maybe a little bit about some of the psychology or the psychiatry aspects of the holidays and where music might fit in. Then we'll come back and pick you up and anybody else that would like to give some input. So N5RTF, would you like to go ahead and take the mic here, and we'll go ahead. This N5RTF, this is Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta. Go ahead, Chip.
Okay, well, I'll take the Zoom mic this time. So all creatures that live in temperate zones respond to the changes of seasons. It's less noticeable at the equator, but even they have some swings in the angle of the sun. But up here, from we're at 30 degrees J, going up higher. The further north you get, the more profound the changes are until you reach the areas of northern Europe where you've got the midnight sun, and it's the most significant. But all mammals have some vestigial genes for hibernation, and the effects of hibernation are very similar to what we describe as depression, where you slow down, you eat a whole bunch, get fat, get lazy, don't interact as much, and just sort of settle down until the winter is over. We don't actually curl up in a cave and go to sleep, but we do become pretty useless. And to fight against that, almost every human culture in the temperate zones has some kind of solstice festival. Regardless of your religious background, almost everybody has a solstice or New Year festival where they notice the changing of the days. Yesterday was the solstice, so we had the shortest day and longest night of the year. And now from this point going forward, the days will all start getting longer again. And that's an important part of the annual cycle. And so people would save up food and beverages and celebrate that change of seasons, looking forward to a more active time. And that's universal amongst humans. And also you'll notice that even in your pets, you'll see them slow down in the wintertime and speed back up in the spring and summer. So anything else?
Yeah, N5RTF, AA4FL, the mic, Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta here, transmitting the Medical Amateur Radio Council. What about the singing component? I mean, in medieval times, I guess people would come to doors for different reasons. It wasn't carols. I think alcohol was more involved. From the outside, knocking on doors, looking for alcohol as part of the celebration. But where do you think the music component fits in, and how does that work in parallel with the solstice celebrations? Chip, N5RTF, Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta.
Well, vocalizations are an important part of almost all land animals, even reptiles and birds. And humans have brought that to a much higher level. Now, why certain combinations of notes and tones, chords, stir emotions in people? Is that something that we're trained to do, or is that something that's innate? But people do respond to music and respond very strongly to it. It's a big part of human culture. And we return every year to a body of songs which are only used once a year, is unique to this season. There are plenty of songs that are sung all year round, but only the Christmas season and the solstice festivals have music that's only used during that particular time. And it brings back memories, and it also inspires people to look forward to the coming year.
Thank you, N5RTF, Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta. We'll talk some more about some of those songs and the traditions. Certainly, as we move on with the discussion today, I have some prepared conversation for that. Thank you for sharing. I know, Harry, you had mentioned country music and Christmas, and of course, you probably have some input from the church. Whiskey Bravo 9 Echo Delta Papa. Would you like to take the mic, Harry, and start a little abbreviated discussion? Just seed the discussion a minute or two, so then we'll get input from other people on the topic as you discuss it. Go ahead, Harry.
Good morning, sisters and brothers, and with the other holidays. Have a lot of roots, much like church music, which is music in general, but the music comes out. So it's the origin of it's a group that belongs to music. I love it. So that's a whole bunch of guys would see a lot of the older songs, the country, the sleigh bell, the ride on the horse is very common in breeding of the home. So things like Jingle Bell, I'm Dreaming Yo-Yo, it was written by Irving Berlin. It was a very esteemed lyricist and writer, and he was a Jewish fellow that did a fantastic job. So, we kind of go across barriers and all of these things, but country music is more of very upbeat, a lot of jingly kind of sound, horses, you screaming, of an open fire, things like that, and having your family come over again, say, Fly Away, which was John Denver. That's a lot of countries back today.
Well, thank you for that input, Harry, WP9 EDP. I'd like to hear from others that would like to discuss their take on the music and how it comforts them. And we're going to bring that up as part of our ongoing discussion. But I'll take a list for others that would like to be involved in discussion at this discussion point right now. Go ahead and make your call to Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta. Okay, I'm not hearing others that would like to input at this time. This is for the general amateur public, today's net, of course, as it always is. We're open to all amateurs, and we encourage you to participate. Is there anyone that's listening that would like to go ahead and check in and get in our check-in list? Make your call to Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta, the Medical Amateur Radio Council. Go ahead and make your call.
Kilo Charlie 9, Alpha Romeo Papa.
Kilo Charlie 9, Alpha Romeo Papa. Thank you, Michaeline, for checking in. Any other further check-ins? Okay, well, not yet at this time. We've got plenty of time for discussion. This is the net, and it's an interactive net. And thank you for the 22 of you that have checked in. I look forward to hearing your input on these subjects. We'll take breaks for check-ins. We'll take breaks for making lists for discussions. And again, this is a very active net. We appreciate everybody that participates. We imagine there's those of you that are listening, and it will be recorded for the general public. So this will become a YouTube video as well. So are the holiday tunes good for your health? What does science say? OptimusDaily.com. You can Google that if you'd like. Are holiday tunes good for your health? Here's what science says. Love it or not, Christmas music is an inescapable part of the holiday season. Harry mentioned, Irving Berlin. Well, Irving Berlin was Jewish, and he's sitting here writing some of the classics. And one might say that, other religions and other immigrant groups, when you come to the United States, you want to feel part of the United States. So it's not unusual to express that by participating in the overall culture. It's even true of superheroes. Some of the individuals that came to the United States wrote superhero comics, and it was their way of humanizing themselves in the culture. And you can read more about that. Perhaps that's for another discussion. But, it might be nostalgic for some, by others, hearing Jingle Bells for the 100th time might feel like a test of patience. But what does the science say about that? And you could certainly look to this particular article if you Google it and get how they feel. But just a few of the quotes from it. How does it affect the brain? Well, music has a unique ability to influence nearly every part of the brain, especially those related to memory and emotion. When people listen to music they like, we find lots of interesting activity in parts of the brain that deal with pleasure, emotion, and reward. And that was a chair from Montreal Neurological Institute at McGill University, Robert Zatori. And while his studies haven't focused specifically on festive music, his research shows that listening to music you enjoy can reduce stress and elevate your mood. So if someone's a fan of Christmas music, it could indeed have a positive psychological effect. So also, if you would like to reference Chip has these audio streams, marcoaudio.net, marcoaudio.net. And if you look through his list of recordings and go to February 4th, 2024, we did an entire session on the physiology of music and music therapy. And I think in tandem with this discussion, it would be fascinating for you to revisit that. And perhaps we can get Manir here today in just a minute to make some comments. N3PQ here with us being a neurologist. But the healing power of nostalgia and holidays music ability to evoke strong emotions often comes from its connection to cherished memories. And this is also quoted from that particular article. Daniel Levitin, professor emeritus of psychology at McGill, explains that there's a serotonin boost from listening to nostalgic music, nostalgic memories that can help reduce anxiety, improve overall well-being. Now, there's other studies that people that revisit experiences like Christmas songs or watching favorite holiday movies, because they anticipate the positive emotions they felt before. And certainly the movies, the Hallmark Channel, I mean, they're famous for that. They advertise all across the board that they do Christmas music, Christmas movies that you'll enjoy. But when you hear Bing Crosby's White Christmas, it can transport you to moments of childhood joy, says Levitin. That's why we repeatedly watch Elf or listen to All I Want for Christmas Is You. And I think she appreciates that, because I heard the other day that Mariah Carey gets royalties of millions of dollars a year from that one song. But we're seeking that familiar sense of happiness and comfort. Manir N3PQ, do you have any input or comments that you'd like to make about that? Go ahead.
Yeah, I do. Very interesting discussion so far. Yeah, it turns out that music does affect the brain in many, many different ways. And interestingly, it affects the more, let's say, older or more quote-unquote primitive, they're not really primitive areas, like the amygdala, the hippocampus, the limbic system, which of course have a lot to do with emotion. It also, though, affects the frontal lobes, which, as we talked about before, has to do with decision making. My own take on this, again, actually there are books about music in the brain. I haven't read in detail any of them, but I've looked at that. There are all kind of books and research about that. My own kind of tangential take on this is I think different kind of music might affect different things in the brain. Like, it's one thing for me to listen to Haydn, classical music. It's amazing how it seems to involve the whole brain. The whole brain is involved in understanding or appreciating that. And I would say so much more so for somebody who is good at music, not like me. I'm just, layman in music. So it does, if you listen to a symphony or string quartet by Haydn, you feel like your whole brain is occupied in processing that. Yesterday, my wife got tickets for me, her, and my sister to go see the the Trans-Siberian Orchestra that was playing in Pittsburgh. Again, totally different influence of the brain. Beautiful songs and very nice show. Of course, I had to kind of close my ears a little bit, it was too loud. But I think different kind of music affects different kinds of the brain. Rap music, who knows? I mean, that's a totally different genre. Now, Christmas music, I don't know anybody studied that specifically with the brain. I can tell you, it makes me feel great. I don't care if they started in August, I still like it, or September. It's just beautiful music. And my favorite, the little drummer boy. I mean, it actually not only you feel good, it I think teaches you or helps you understand more, the purpose behind the season and what it's all about. So I could do some more research, if you like, about how different kind of music affects different kinds of the brain. From my previous readings, I heard or read that people who are very musically talented, like Irving Berlin, Bernstein, Beethoven, etc., their brain responds to music differently than, let's say, my brain. I think more parts of the brain, right and left hemisphere, are activated for them than, let's say, for me. Musical geniuses like Haydn and Mozart, I'm sure it's a total, I mean, somebody tried to explain to me how Mozart could compose a symphony in his head, and then 24 hours before he had to perform it, he could write it down. So yeah, I think I need to do more research on how different music affects different parts of the brain. Maybe I'll go back. I wasn't part of Marco back in February. I'll go back and review that presentation of yours. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. M3PQ, Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta. This is AA4 Delta Mike for ID. The Medical Amateur Radio Council ran rounds on the air. We do have another check-in, WW9F here is with us, Jeff. So I'm checking Jeff in as well. We're up to about 23 check-ins. I imagine there's others listening as well. Manir, that sounds like a wonderful future discussion. Maybe we'll get it in a future quarter. That's the nice thing about the way we're handling our nets. These invaluable recordings that Chip makes. And then we're trying to get all these different topics organized by name as well. And then when we add to that the recorded Zoom sessions, then we have this wealth or reservoir, and we can develop topics and further add. So from year to year, we're not starting from scratch. It's complementary. It's all additive effect. So thank you very much, Manir. I think that's a wonderful offering, and maybe we can get that in on a future quarter here. Do we have any other further check-ins for the Grand Rounds of the Internet? I encourage all amateurs to check in. Make your call to Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta.
Comment when you have a chance, WB9 Echo Delta Papa.
I think we have some comments from Harry. Harry, before we do turn it back to you for your comments, let me just make a note from this particular article. Sometimes Christmas music can backfire because not everybody feels warm and fuzzy when Silent Night starts playing. For those that dislike Christmas music, the effects can be the opposite. And I think that's true when you look at music therapy. I mean, I hear the dental students playing music and they're doing it for themselves, and they got 24 chairs. The stuff that they're playing, not necessarily comforting and relaxing to the patients that are in this open clinic. So it can backfire at times, but even for fans, too much of a good thing can turn sour. But for 1 month, I think that's fine. Now, if it's played repetitively, and I have a story about repetitively from pleasant to unpleasant, that can cross the threshold, according to Dean McKay, PhD, who is a professor of psychology at Fordham. And the retailers should take notes. I mean, you want to mix up the songs. I don't think you want to blast Deck to the Hall in October, but you probably don't want to do it 10 times over as well. So it's an interesting contrast. He also suggests that context matters. If it's played within the North American societal boundaries the day after Thanksgiving and Christmas, most people associate it with the joyous mood of the season. Of course, it won't backfire under those circumstances. WB9EDP, I believe you had some input. Why don't you go ahead and take the mic?
Thanks, WB5D, WB9 Echo Delta Papa Harry. And we don't know each other, but it's take note of myself for 2.5 years now. I've been working on a paper on the biophysics of some of the audio sounds in what we particularly in the phase frequencies, utilizing treatments in cancer as well as some of the psychological stuff. And so, it might be good to get input from here I am and Ham too, and it'd be great to have co-authors that are all hams. I tossed out there, Jay, but I've been working on. But one thing you will get not a kick out of, but I've seen it because I've had the pleasure of playing the bass for an artist with an audience and between 30,000 and 40,000 people, believe it or not. That's a lot of people bands. There are some songs that we play. It's hard to do when you got that big of an audience. People just break it down. Good songs, full of a lot of relative, lots of memories, lots of who knows what. But I can tell you, that happened. It happened to me playing some songs with that particular artist, and I think his audience is over 100,000. So that's pretty big as far as an audience. So that'd be interesting for people to look up. But it is interesting when people do that because they emotionally start to cry in that. So I've been looking at it from the purely biophysics side of it. And that would be interesting to get the neurology as well as the psychiatrist input and share that. And what a neat article that would be all done by Mr. Radio, hands in the medicine business. Anyway, I just wanted to toss that out there. If anyone's interested, just email me and then we'll share some ideas and that I've been working on for a long time on the mathematics of it. So, W5P, WP9 Echo Delta Papa and the Marco Net.
Well, thank you, Harry. It's an interesting take. Best of success on that. I'm sure you and Munir can connect. He's got a great 20-meter signal, and I'm sure he probably can talk on the air or by phone, however you decide. I'm going to go back to discussing that the songs and how it relates, and how it can also the repetitiveness can be an issue. I used it therapeutically though. So here's the story I'd like to tell. This is AA4. I felt the mic. I owned a dental office, and one of my dental assistants in the early days of CDs. We played CDs of Christmas music, and of course we'd listen on the air also for Christmas music during the season. But she couldn't wait to hear Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. Her favorite song. Now, I don't know why. I mean, I told her mother was a grandmother. Do you really want to celebrate your mother that way? But I thought it was my therapeutic duty when CD players came out. What I did is I got the CD and I put it on in the office, and I set the CD to repeat, to repeat, to repeat, to repeat. And I cured her of that affliction. So it's probably not her favorite song anymore. So retailers, beware, it can backfire if you play the same music over and over. And of course, I hope they never change the lyrics for that one, because I wouldn't want, my dentist got run over by a reindeer, my psychiatrist got run over by a reindeer. But if you go to sciencebasedmedicine.org, they had some medical fun with Christmas carols, just taking existing Christmas songs, not just carols necessary, but songs, and saying, okay, so what disorders would be associated with particular songs? So Argria, I guess that Chip, is that a fear of silver? Was silver balls, mumps, the chipmunk song, depression, blue Christmas, of course, rosacea, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Rhinophyma patient is the way they described it. Hypothyroidism, baby, it's cold outside and inside too. Obesity, I don't know, this might have been British. We want some Fiji pudding. From Wish You Had a Merry Christmas. I don't get all of these, but of course the edentulous, all I want for Christmas is my two front teeth, of course, along with the rest of them. And deaf, and that's insensitive, but they said Silent Night. I certainly would not say that. But tinnitus may be Jingle Bells. I guess that's also kind of derogatory, not an interest. That's, of course, they went on to make it worse. And this is for Chet. They did Christmas carols for the psych ward, Chet. I thought it was in poor taste, but I think it's important to be fair and to give a little bit of discussion to it. Schizophrenia, do you hear what I hear? Multiple personality disorders, we three kings. Disorientated are, of course, they changed. Amnesia, I don't know if I'll be home for Christmas. The Narcissist, or change it, Hark the Herald Angels Sing About Me. And if you're manic, deck the halls and walls and house and lawns, streets and stores and office and town and cars and buses and trucks and trees and fire hydrants if you're manic at Christmas. If you're paranoid, the song you'd be hearing would be Santa Claus is coming to get me. Obsessive compulsive disorder would just be jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle bells, probably on to infinity in that particular case. Of course, autistic, jingle bell rock and rock and rock and rock, and senile dementia, walking in a winter wonderland, miles from my house in my slippers and robe. So these are actually very, I mean, those of us that are health professionals, maybe we're getting a little chuckle out of it, but of course it can be insensitive as well. And we don't want to give you the wrong impression that we're insensitive. Remember, this was written on science medicine, basemedicine.org, but it was Christmas carols for the psych ward. So, consider the context. I hope I'm not offending anyone. I'm going to go ahead and break one and look for late check-ins, any further check-ins. If you find this interesting and you're listening, you'd like to get in our check-in roster, we'd love to have you. It's open to all amateur radio operators, the Medical Amateur Radio Council, WB5D for ID. Make your call to Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta.
For a second.
Okay, George, KEHGA, I've got you checked in. George, do you have any comments you'd like to make at this point? Go ahead.
No, I do. I think that people want to play Christmas music in my office. People just want to hear Christmas songs. They want to hear this is Christmas song.
Yeah, us too, George, in my dental office. It is very relaxing to patients and joyous and gives them a chance to think about something other than being drilled and all the noise, of course, in the dental offices. My gosh, we use these air-driven handpieces, and they're quite loud. And so it is a good alternative. And there's lots of patients that are not Christians, but the music itself, as we mentioned before, Irving Berlin, it's universal. It goes beyond it. Of course, there's songs that are very religious based, but there's also songs that are just seasonal. And I never had anybody complain in the office about listening to Christmas music, nor do I do at the university, where probably about a third of my dental students are not Jewish, because you've got students from India, you've got Muslim students, you've got Jewish students, Hindu students. So no one's ever complained about the music that's getting played. So, that science-based-medicine.org site also did Christmas carols for complementary and alternative medicine, some different ones, and I'm not going to go ahead and mention all of them because these get a little more insensitive than the ones we just did. However, if you would like to Google science-based-medicine.org medical fun with Christmas carols, maybe you'd get a chuckle out of it. Not from me here on the public airways today. Munir, I'm going to go ahead and let you have the mic. N3PQ, go ahead.
Hey, just to make a comment, we say humor is the best medicine. I think it's important to keep a sense of humor about things like that. No offense is intended, obviously, but it's okay to have fun. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I especially like that one about my two front teeth. My wife first taught me that one, by the way.
Okay, it's very geared, of course, to children that are 5 or 6 years old. You listen to the lyrics. So we'll talk about that one a little bit here too. I think there's somebody else that had comments. George, was that still you? KEHGA, go ahead.
You're doubling, you double through all of them.
Okay, others with comments. Who would like to make additional comments? Make your call to WB5D. We'll make a list and do them. If there's someone else that wanted to make a comment, go ahead and let me know. Give you the mic.
WB988. when you were making your comment, there was Jay was you guys were doubling each other. I don't know if everybody caught it, but I missed your comment, Minner. This is Harry, WB9 Echo Delta Papa, the physics guy. But you guys doubled on top of one another. All I got was two front teeth, and I know about that as a joke song. So it had nothing to do with you, Minner. So you may want to recapitulate that over.
I'll turn the mic back over to Linear. Go ahead. N3.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. This is M3PQ. Harry, I was just saying, talking about sense of humor, I think it's important to maintain a sense of humor as long as it's not offensive to anybody and all that. And I was saying humor is the best medicine. I was saying about the Christmas songs, the one that I had learned before this meeting today, the only one I knew before, my wife had taught me this one about all I want for Christmas is my two front teeth. And if I would ask her, what do you want for Christmas? That's what she would say. So that's basically all I was saying. This is N3PQ, over.
Yeah, N3PQ, Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta. Thank you, Linear. Harry, were you able to copy that time? Go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks a lot, Jay, for doing that. Yeah, I just didn't know if I don't want to miss. It's a very good talk today, and you're doing a good job, and it's easy for us to not necessarily double. I've done that, unfortunately, sometimes. And Michaeline passed along a comment that her favorite song is The Little Drummer Boy. So we see a lot of percussion and low frequency mathematically, and I won't get into that, but we know that does a lot for the status, and Chip would probably have some data on that. The lower frequencies we see therapeutic, not just as a active therapy device, but as a passive therapy device. But it's very interesting. And that was great. Yeah, that one, believe it or not, in Germany, there's a song that when I was there some years ago, I can't say it exactly on the radio, but it was basically kind of a joke song that don't sit on my blank because it meaning a kid that would get say a spanking back then, and then that would hurt, so he couldn't eat Christmas dinner. It was a comedy, like the grandma and the reindeer situation. That's very there's more of a country related music to that one that was just picked up by the regular rock and roll. When we hear some of the stuff by some artists, it is not even qualified as music by real musicians nowadays. It's terrible, beyond absolutely terrible. But things like Beethoven and things Lanier and you brought up, and especially Irving Berlin was highly prolific. And the first time like Christmas was done, and he had a tremendous gift, and what a cherished person he was, his talent. Anyway, I talked too much about that, but I appreciate when you're doing that. It was curious. I was getting mixed up between, anytime I hear teeth, I think a day of you, Jay. Oh, I didn't know if it was a dental issue. Anyway, back to WB5D, WB9DDP. Thanks a lot, Jay.
Thank you for the comments, Harry. George, KEHEA, I think it was you that we actually doubled with, and being another dentist. George, are you still here? Would you like to go ahead? I think the last transmission we doubled with you, and we weren't able to benefit from your comments. Would you like to repeat those comments? KEHEA, Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta, go ahead.
Okay, Dave, I'm listening here. I don't think it's right to talk about dental issues in the dental office. I think we just want to, as dentists or physicians, to play music in the background music just to make people happy. That's all it was. And I played a lot of Elvis Presley music in the office, and people, maybe that was my age, they came to my office. That's what they like to listen to. And I wasn't trying to teach them anything. I just wanted to listen to music. So that's all I wanted to do. Is the long time ago that I quit using 4 years ago, I quit my practice. And every Christmas, I'd put the CD inside. There was Christmas music, and I'd play those for certain people. And they'd come in, and they would listen to those. And I would play other music, introduce Western music. In the South, like Western music, and that's the way it was. So even it's just the way it was. Here. Only one thing I thought the hell after the that's all over. So hang on. It's 88 years, 73.
Okay, thank you, George. You know, country music is such crossover these days. So, I mean, in a genre, it's not a genre unto itself, very popular during the holidays, and the heritage of country music going back to gospel years also helps as well, I'm sure. Thank you for everybody that's made comments. Do we have anybody else that would like to make a comment at this time before I move on to talk about the 12 Days of Christmas lyrics modified for the medical profession? Any other comments? Grand rounds on the internet for ID, Whiskey Bravo 5, Delta AA4, F on the mic. I'll make a list. Go ahead and make your call. Okay, no other stations. We're going to move on to talk about 12 Days of Christmas. It just seems to be, if you go online and you start researching Christmas carols, it's the one that seemed to be selected most for the change. I mean, a lot of it, physicians, but for the nurses particularly, just love to have that one. But I mean, there was one here, it's gomerblog.com, 12 Days of Christmas, if you want to look it up. You know, what did the true love bring to him on day one? It was a prep with a colonoscopy. And, you know, again, day two was 2 Oxycontins. And then, of course, the prep with colonoscopy, the way the song goes. And what about day 3? 3 cyst removals, 4 ER visits, 5 Nuvi rings, 6 home infusions. So those are the type of lyrics they modified for the song. 7 was Botox treatments, 8 spinal fusions, 9 upper GIs, 10 liposuctions, 11 rhinoplasties, and 12 EKGs. So there you go. Think about that in terms of the 12 Days of Christmas. And we're not going to sing the song here on the air. What about from a electrophysiology side? I mean, what if you looked at it from cardiology? You know, what would you be getting? Well, some of the lyrics that we've seen are for the first day, a pacer for systole, for the second day, 2 long QTs, the third day, 3 timeouts, 4 LV leads, 500 joules. That would definitely shock your heart back into rhythm. Whereas actually, I guess it defibs you, and then hopefully your own heart goes back into rhythm. 6 vessels bleeding, 7 sheets of splitting, 8 consults waiting, 9 second pauses, 10 incisions weeping, 11 patients crashing, and 12 hearts afibbing. So there we go. We have AFib that we're talking about. So what about nursing? You know, the 12 days of nursing. They would be concerned about, well, the 12 ones, not necessarily in this order, an MI on a gurney, belly aches, sore throats, traumas coming, GI bleeds, pregnant women, psych leaping, call lights blinking, IVs beeping, bedpans leaking, nurses crying, and worst of all, doctors screaming on the 12th day. So nurses, you know, that's a very, very stressful job. I think it's very therapeutic for physicians and nurses. I mean, George, you and I as dentists, you know, yeah, we get instant feedback from our patients. Usually, actually, it's pretty positive. Historically, they thought dentists had high suicide rates. Maybe years ago when we were doing such precision work, but nowadays I never felt that way. And very few people that I know committed suicide. They were dentists, but I'm not saying the physicians and nurses do, but I pale in comparison to the stress that they have during the holiday seasons, or those in law enforcement. I mean, my gosh, think of all the stress that others can have. It's important to have an outlet here, and the music tends to be the outlet, and so do the lyrics. I mean, those are 2 different things. One, you're talking about the brain's activity from the musical aspect of it, and the other is also the the lyrics of it, which you combine together. Now, what about nurses on 12-hour shifts for Christmas? What would they not want to have on their shifts? What if their first shift they had a bedpan overflowing with pee and 2 pressure cuffs or 3 naked men or 4 calling bells or 5 contact rooms or 6 hours of nursing? The charge nurse gave 5 contact rooms, and on and on and on. And as you go into more days, you get more sayings. But moving on to all I want for Christmas is my 2 front teeth. That in itself is already complete when you talk about the aspects of the medical aspects. But why is that a popular song for 5 and 6-year-olds? Well, those of you that had children and had grandchildren, remember your childhood, you realize people pause and stare at you because your 2 front teeth are gone. And you don't know who to blame for the catastrophe. So all you want for Christmas is as plain as it can be. You want your 2 front teeth. That makes common sense. If they had your 2 front teeth, then you could wish you a Merry Christmas. Because it seems to go right into the song, into the lyrics, and it's a popular one, and it goes from year to year. So did we play that in the office? I'm sure it was in the Christmas mix. But in other professions, science professions, what about chemistry teachers? And you can look this under one of the labs. It's calpaclab.com, actually, that did this science Christmas carols. Santa Claus coming to town. We finally found a different tune. And the different tune, the lyrics that were changed for them was, you better not weigh, and you better not heat, you better not react. And they're telling you why, because the chemistry teacher is coming to town, because he's collecting the data and he's checking it twice, because he's going to find out the heat of melting ice. So again, not to sing the melody, but just to talk about the lyrics. The chemistry teacher is coming to town. He sees you when you're decanting, because he knows when you titrate, and he knows when you're safe or not. So wear goggles, for goodness sake. And you better not filter and drink your filtrate, because you better not be careless and spill your precipitate, because the chemistry teacher is coming to town. So other professions, similarly will play. And of course, it's good fun, as the minister said, and it's good for the brain. So thank you for all of you that have participated today and for listening here. Have a wonderful Christmas and a holiday season. Celebrating the traditions with your family and friends in the manner of your religious beliefs. From the friends at the Medical Amateur Radio Council and Healthcare and Hams, we wish you that new year be full of great health and happiness. And I'm going to open up the floor now for those that would like to offer holiday greetings to their fellow hams. I'm going to start with Mary, AE4BX. Go ahead, Mary. Unmute. Or are you saying goodbye, or would you like to give a greeting there, Mary? Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to leave because we're heading out of town right now, but I enjoyed the net and enjoyed all of the variations on Christmas holidays. I agree that the music can be aggravating when Walmart starts Christmas way before Halloween, and it's kind of an irritant before it comes into the season. But enjoyed seeing all of you, and I gotta go. So it's bye.
Thank you for being here with us, Mary. It's always good. One of our illustrious former presidents, Mary, AE4BX. Thank you for being here, Mary. Do we have any other greetings or comments in addition to those that are from the Medical Amateur Radio Council themselves? We have a group of 23 people here, opening up the floor for comments. Any greetings to your fellow hams? This is AA4FL at the mic, offering you personal greetings, holiday greetings as well, and a year of good health from me personally. Any other hams would like to share some greetings before we bring the net to a close?
Hey, I'd like to say Merry Christmas to everybody and Happy Hanukkah. Because I had Jewish roommates in college, I think we can't forget them and forget about the problems they're going through. The Middle East, I want to say Happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas to everybody.
Okay, well, thank you very much, George. The same to you and for all of you from that part of the world and beyond just the borders of Israel. We know how stressful it is, regardless of your religion right now. There's Christians and Jewish people throughout the Middle East. A little less now through the Arab countries, because after Israel was formed, there was a mass exodus to Israel. Actually, the opposite occurred from some of the population that left as well. So it's very, very stressful. May that part of the world find peace and return to a healthy environment from the terrible happenings that are happening for all parties involved now. This is AA4FL at the mic. Any further comments? Make your call to Whiskey Bravo 5 Delta.
Everybody was a very nice session. Anyway, well, like mine, in Garland, it was only on master, I say, I did it last one. With everybody else, a happy Hanukkah as well. So to all the hands and George, I heard you, and I'll be around after that. So I look forward to talking to you, and the best to you, Jay, as well, for doing the net, and everybody still monitoring that. Thanks a lot for your work, Skipper, and taking the recordings and everything. Back to net control, WB5 Delta, WB9 Echo, Delta Papa. Wonderful. Frolic line out to Algonquin, over.
Okay, thank you for your comments from Batavia, Illinois, Harry. It's always fun to talk to you, and that's a tradition throughout the year, not just for the holidays for you and I. Now, thank you for participating in the Grand Rounds of the Internet today, and for all amateurs.